Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel, and I just got back home from the Milwaukee Regional Championships where I was able to get 158th place playing Goldengo Dragapult. I'm going to talk about my list, my run, why I played the deck, and all that stuff in today's video. Had a lot of fun in Milwaukee this time around. Last time we had Milwaukee Regionals in 2023, unfortunately I was unable to make day two. I had a pretty good start, and then it just fizzled out. So I'm glad that I was actually able to make day two this time at Milwaukee. I had a pretty decent run, and I'm pretty happy with the deck that I ended up picking for the tournament. And I also want to give a big thank you and shout out to everybody who came up to me this weekend and said hi, got me to sign something, take a picture with me, all that good stuff. I love meeting fans and subscribers and new people, so glad I was able to meet some of y'all this weekend. So big shout out to all y'all for that. But yeah, Milwaukee was pretty cool. I really enjoyed the market food place. I was like down the road. So yeah, pretty good time. And once again, I'm glad I was able to make day two with this Dengo deck. So I didn't really know if I was going to even play Goldengo this tournament. My issue with Goldengo going into Milwaukee was I thought, one, it was going to get a little bit countered. I figured there's actually going to be a lot of Goldengo this weekend, and I was right. It was actually, I think, either the first or second most played deck if you combined the two variants, because the day one graphic had both versions of Goldengo on it, the Dragapult and the non-Dragapult build. And the other build, or the other issue, sorry, I had with Goldengo for this tournament was Genesect. Genesect did not seem like a very good thing to have to deal with, and I figured some people might be playing it this weekend. I didn't want to hit somebody who just randomly put a Genesect in their deck, and then it hard countered my deck. But I did build my list to help counter the Genesect counters, which I'll talk about in just a sec. I was originally maybe going to play a Archaladon Zoark deck. That was what me and my buddy were testing for a little bit, but I ended up just switching back to Goldengo because I was just pretty confident in the deck, and I just like Goldengo, and, you know, I gotta at least go with the bid at this point where I play Goldengo to, like, every tournament I go to this year. It's just, I've already done it, you know, might as well continue the streak. But I thought Dango Dragapult was, like, the best build, very much inspired from Grant Shen's build from Monterey Regionals. Pretty similar concept here. There's a few changes, obviously. A couple greedy changes, not going to lie. Some of the cards I ended up cutting out of my list are a little greedy, for sure. I took a bit more of a greedy approach, but I'm glad I was still able to do well with the deck. The deck felt pretty good overall. Like, even though I cut a few important cards to make room for other important cards, I didn't really notice too much of a difference with the list and the consistency issues, and the deck is really powerful. The idea behind playing the Dragapult, the X in the deck, is that you get backup draw with Dracloak, so you have an extra draw engine to work with. So Dracloak kind of acts as like an extra Goldengo, so like you can have like a bunch of draw on your board. It's really hard to get like Iono'd into a bad hand when your board is like Goldengos and Dracloaks. And then finally, the Dragapult is a very useful attacker in a lot of matchups, specifically very good against Cornerstone Ogerpon because it gives you an attacker against it, but it also can be very good in other matchups where your opponents may be playing Pikachu EX. Maybe they have, you know, a bunch of low HP Pokemon in play. It can be really good in, like, the Dragapult matchup itself, though mostly you're just trying to beat them down with Goldengo. It's still a really good thing to have sometimes. Sometimes having the extra turn where you can just randomly attach energy to your Dracloak to set up a potential Dragapult play in the future is really good, and that's one of the things that this deck actually really worked out well for me this weekend. Was just attaching Dracloak randomly was like very strong. And then I kept Fez Monkey in the deck, the staples, and I kept the Genesect in. Grant Chen played Genesect. I don't think Grant Chen played Genesect in his list this time around, but I thought it was still worth playing the Genesect. It's really good in the mirror match. It's how we beat the mirror. This is why I'm not playing the baby Dengo in the deck, because for the mirror, my tech is the Genesect Vengeful Punch, so you just bench it, attach Vengeful Punch, and then you lock your opponent from being able to play their E-Search Pro, but also really good in other situations against unfair stamp decks, where in the Dragapult matchup, usually if they go like Genesect Unfair Stamp, you're probably not going to knock out the Dragapult. Like, there's, even if you play the double Vessel, which is what I played, still probably not going to be enough to get there. You have to get a little lucky. But when you have a Genesect in play, they can't stamp you. The most they can do is, like, Iono you to 5 cards, because you most likely killed their Budu. You get Iono to 5, you're probably going to get the knockout, even if there's a Genesect on the board, because you still drew a good amount of cards. I also have 12 energy in the deck. I don't think Jishen played 12 energy. I think he played 11. So I wanted to add 12 energy. I just can't play Goldengo without 12 energy, man. I think 12 energy is a really good amount of energy to play right now, so I kept that in there. I also added Jamming Tower, which was not in Jishen's Monterey list. The Jamming Tower is really good against Gardevoir. It literally won me both games against the 2 Guardies I hit. And then I added Second Vessel because, yeah, just the idea is if they go Genesect and they unfair stamp you, or even if they just put Genesect down in general, it doesn't have to be with unfair stamp. If they just Genesect you, you want to be able to find energy. Double Vessel is really good. It also really helps in the early game if you prize eSearch Pro, and it's also really good in the late game if you use Superior Retrieval, but you keep energy in your hand playing around like a potential Budu. Like if your opponent is playing a Budu in their deck, you can sometimes conserve your energy and keep some in your hand so they can't itchy pawing you out of the game. But then they like Iono you or something. But then they might not go Budu because you kept a bunch of energy around. So you have the double vessel, so you can use the vessel to help find the remaining energies that maybe got Ionoed into the deck if you kept them off the retrieval. It's kind of the cool little synergy there that came up with the vessel. It actually came up a lot where I'm like, oh, yeah, it's the end of the game. I got Iono to a small hand. I have 2 vessels in the deck, or 1 in the deck at the very least. This might help me find these 2 energies that I had. The cuts that I made were greedy, were the Ultra Ball. I went down to 1 Ultra Ball. Honestly, I don't really like 2 Ultra Ball and Goldango. It kind of low-key doesn't feel great. Though I'm not going to lie, there was a couple times this weekend where I was like, I prized my Ultra Ball, and I'm like, I really wanted to get a Goldango with this. It actually came up a couple times where I prized Ultra Ball, and I needed a Goldango. Or I didn't need Goldango, but I was like, I kind of need to have a Goldango on the board. Like, it would be good to have. And then the second TM Evo, which is another cut that I'm like, honestly, like, you're playing this deck, you're going second, you're like, Arvin, please don't prize Team Evo. That's essentially how this, like, operates. I mean, you could probably go back to 2 Team Evo at the very least. I definitely wouldn't hate the second Team Evo, but it's really slim pickings on what you want to cut. I think every card pulls its weight and has a value. I didn't want to cut the supporter line or anything. I didn't want to hurt the consistency. I thought about maybe playing, like, 3 Arvin, because Arvin's a pretty bad card in Goldango against Budu. After you've done 1 TM Evo, it's usually like a dead card. You're just trying to find ciphers, but you're drawing so many cards anyways, it's like not that big of a deal. The Arvins are really good in the late game when you need to find retrievals and stuff to finish things off. That's the list I played. Again, pretty happy with the 60. I liked it a lot. Really, after playing the deck, just maybe add a second TM Evo, because we'll talk about some of the rougher matchups Goldango has. So this is my tournament run from day 1 to day 2. There's 8 rounds. And let's talk about it. So, round number 1, I played against Gardevoir. Pretty good matchup. I know the matchup pretty well. Just, 1, don't bench Fez if you don't have to, because it gives him an easy 2-prize kill with Gardevoir EX, which can be very deadly. Don't bench Fez. Make sure you don't prize Jamming Tower. Usually you beat Gardevoir if you get a 3-prize turn with Jamming Tower. You can usually go, like, knock out their Buddy or Cleffa, and then they probably respond with a Scream Tail that turn. They go Scream Tail, knock out Dreepy or something, or a bench Gimme if you didn't evolve it. You knock up the Scream Tail, you go down to 4 prizes, and then you can try to 2-2-2 prize race your opponent from there, or you try to look out for a potential 3-prize turn with Jamming Tower. It's actually very important not to stay on odd prizes against Gardevoir, just because you don't want to get Iono to 1 against Drifloon. Because then if you whiff the Jamming Tower play, you just kind of lose on the spot, basically. Round 2, hit Charizard. We ended up tying this round here against Andrew Reinhardt. I ended up tying against him. Didn't expect to hit Charizard. It was Charizard with no Dusknoir, which is actually really good for me. Dusknoir is actually not great to deal with that matchup. I've tested a lot of Charizard versus Goldango, and it's not a good matchup because they have Dusknoir, but he was not playing Dusknoir. I don't think so anyways. He had Budu, he had Briar, he had the Shiyu in the deck. The baby Shiyu was like the biggest obstacle to get over because there's a 1-prizer that can knock out Goldango, and he played pretty well. I was trying to bait him into attacking into a Goldango. Knowing that he didn't have Dusknoir, I kind of just was like, oh, I can play this matchup like how I used to play against Charizard pre-Dusknoir with Goldango. You would basically just let them get the first 2 prize into play, and you knock it out, and you can initiate a 2-2-2 prize race. Even with Radiant Charizard, it's still fairly easily. But because you had Shiyu, it kind of offset things a little bit. He had the ability to go like Iono to 1, or Iono plus Shiyu, and then force me to find Boss plus KO, or else I basically lose on the spot. His ace pack is also Unfair Stamp, not Max Belt or Hero Escape or anything. He did play Pidgeot, obviously. I lost game 1 because he Briared me. I didn't really expect there was a Briar in the deck. Game 2, I ended up winning. It was fairly close. And then game 3, naturally tied, obviously. Which is fine. I mean, this matchup felt pretty bad. I don't know if I was going to win game 3, in all honesty, so I'm glad to take a tie. Then I hit Dragapult round number 3, which was, like, decent. We hit Daniel Mitchell here playing Dragapult. I think it was a quick 2-0, if I remember correctly. Game 1... just kind of the Goldango stuff. I had Genesect on the board. I think game 2, he had a really bad start where he actually had to, like, get rid of his entire hand to, like, have an okay enough board. And he top decked an Iono, which was pretty hilarious. He literally had no cards in hand. He had a Budu and a Dreepy on the board and a Genesect with an experience share on it. And he top decked an Iono, and I was like, oh, we're getting a game. Because I'm like, all right, this is, he's in top deck mode. But he drew into an Iono. So it actually got a little bit close. There did come a moment where if I whiffed a retrieval at the end of the game, I maybe would have lost that. So it got close. We ended up winning there. Again, Dragapult's a good matchup, and I made sure my build was good enough to beat Dragapult. Because game 1, he did put the Genesect on the board, but he couldn't stamp me because I had my Genesect. But he still Ionoed me to 5. But because I had like the double vessel play, 12 energy in the deck, it wasn't too hard to find 6 energy because I had the Monkey Dory, right? So it's pretty easy to do that. Round number 4. Okay, this is where things got bad. So I hit Terra Box. Now this matchup, I'm not gonna lie, so when Terra Box was getting a lot of hype going into the new format here, I was doing a lot of testing against it because I knew I was gonna play Goldenga to Atlanta, and I wanted to test against Terra Box because it was like the most hyped deck at the beginning of the format. But then after it fell off, I just stopped thinking about it. In testing, I found the matchup was extremely 50-50, if not unfavored for Goldengo. So yeah, we lost to Thomas here on the Terra Box. It was a quick 2-0. He plays Cornerstone Ogre Pawn. Game 1, he started Cornerstone Ogre Pawn, or he started Mew EX, but then Nest Ball for Cornerstone, and he managed his board really well. The turn I went Dragapult, I Jet Headbutted him. He just blew me up with a Clefairy. And even with that, because he had a Mew and a Clefairy on the board, and I was like, okay, maybe I can still win the game by gusting, but didn't really work out. And then game number 2, he just flat out opened the Cornerstone. He had a really insane start. He had Cornerstone Ogre Pawn, Crystal, Crispin, Rotom in his starting hand, something like that. It was like insane. He had the nuts. So I just immediately just got rolled game number 2. I also prized a Dragapult line, or I prized a Dreepy Dracloak in game 2, or I prized a Dreepy game 2. It was one of the two. Either way, I couldn't establish double Dracloak, which is what I was trying to do. Because in game 1, he kept chasing the Dracloak until I finally got it out when he ran out of boss, but it didn't matter. Just I had no real way to win the game after he blew up my Dragapult. I couldn't win. So yeah, bit of a rough loss there. Not a great matchup. And obviously, as you can see, I did lose to 3 Terra boxes throughout the tournament. Round number 5, I hit Joltik Box. So another matchup I wasn't really familiar with here against Nathan. Wasn't familiar with this matchup at all. I hadn't honestly tested it at all. Like, I've done the video on it. I've played the deck myself, but I haven't tested against the deck. So in my head, I was like, well, if I can just make my board all Goldengos, surely it's going to be hard for them to keep up. Because, yeah, they have Pikachu, but I have Vengeful Punch. And I also, they're going to run out of resources eventually. Their deck doesn't really function that well. Like, it doesn't really have an engine. Their engine is, like, Fez and Mew. So, like, maybe if I can go around the Pikachu, like, I'm chilling. So, like, ideally in this matchup, you go second, you TM Evo 2 Goldengos out. You ideally evolve your active if you go first. If you can get 3 Goldengos and play, you're chilling. Because Iron Hand is effectively a bad attacker. Like, at that point, they have to bait you with Pikachu. Also, this matchup does come kind of down to, like, whether or not you can find boss at crucial moments. I'm not going to lie. I actually ended up using Dragapult, I think, in one of the 2 games where we got to a board state where he was kind of not able to find resources. Like, he had a pretty bad hand, because I could tell from how his previous turn went. So I set up a Dragapult, and I ended up just setting up a Phantom Dive. He was board locked, so I didn't allow it. I didn't take a prize. I purposely didn't take a prize so that he couldn't use Fez or anything. So I kept them board locked, and I set up like an insane Dragapult play. So that's where Dragapult came in handy. It came in handy against this matchup specifically, because I think if I just took a prize, he would just probably have game, right? So yeah. Pretty good stuff. Round number 6, I ended up hitting a Terapagos Pidgeot deck here against Justin, which is a decent matchup. I think Terapagos... So the Terapagos Pidgeot deck's weird because they do play Volcanion. So the idea is they can fill up their entire bench, and they can use Volcanion plus Terapagos to do 260. The burn will knock you out, and the Iono you can't play Fez. So it actually is a little scary. I knew in this matchup I immediately had to try to get out as many Draclos as I could, because I knew my Fezandipity was not going to be very good against this Volcanion shenanigan. Having 2 Stadium does help, obviously, too, in this matchup. But yeah, it was a decent... well, game 1, he bricked pretty badly. It was a very slow start. So game 2 was a bit better. He set up Pidgeot. I think as soon as he went for the Pidgeot play, I just immediately just went Counter Catcher, E-Search Pro, knock it out. And then I was able to 2-2-2 race him from there. Even with the Volcanion Iono play, I still drew into enough resources to win. Round number 7 here, we hit the Goldengo Mirror against Dylan. I'm not going to lie, I was really scared about Goldengo Mirrors. I don't have a good track record against Goldengo Mirrors for some reason. I beat 2 of them in Vancouver, but I didn't make day 2. But every other Goldengo mirror that I've hit, plain Goldengo, I've never been able to beat, like, at all. Like, it's just not good. I didn't play the Baby Dango. I had Genesect, so I knew I had a bit of an advantage. I don't think Dylan was playing a Genesect. He had Baby Dango instead. So I think what happened was game number 1. Game number 1 was pretty funny. I tried to make my board... I was trying to set up like the first prize kill with like a Dracloak or something, or whatever. I was trying to take the first prize. But I had 1 Goldengo EX on the bench, because I had to use it to play the game. His turn was, he had it in hand, E-Search Pro Boss, Goldengo EX. So I was like, what? He took the first 2 prizes, so I just scooped that one really quickly. Game 2, he bricked, and then that was good. And then game 3 was a bit weird. Game 3 was very weird. So he did take the first knockout with Baby Goldengo, but at the beginning of the game, I did use Petty Grudge I used Dreepy's first attack that does 10 damage. So I hit a Gimme Ghoul for 10 damage with Dreepy. And then later on, the turn he went Baby Dango, as long as he doesn't find a Switch or Rescue Board combo, I can easily set up a Phantom Dive for 2 prizes, and I did. He left the Gimme Ghoul on the bench, because I think as long as he can't move his active Baby Dango with 1 Metal Energy on it, if he puts the 2-prizer down, I'm just going to go boss, take the first 2 prizes with my Goldengo. So he had to leave the Gimme Ghoul and play with the 1 damage counter on it. So then what I did, I just went Phantom Dive, kill both Baby Dango and the Gimme Ghoul, take 2 prizes, took the first 2 prizes, and then from there, right, take first 2 prizes, pretty good. I did benchlock myself at one point, and there was a moment where I may have lost the game because he also established his Dragapult. There was a potential moment where I could have lost the game because I did benchlock myself because at that point I had used up my Turo and my Switch. So I got very close. We did get there, though. And then round number 8, so I was 5-1-1. I was really hoping to go 6-1-1 here. I ended up hitting Gabe Smart, obviously really good player. So yeah, I hit Gabe Smart. He was playing the Joltik box deck, which I was like, okay, this matchup's like not that bad. So Gabe Smart, I think one game, or I either won game 1 or 2. I can't remember. All I know is it was like a super close set. One of us won one of the 2 sets, right? He won game 1, I won game 1. He won game 2, I won game 2, whatever. What it came down to was game number 3. All he had was he had to go Blood Moon, Knockout, Active, Ionomy, and I think I had 3 Dangos, a Fez, and I think a Dracloak. I had like the board, right, to win. He Ionomy to 2, but he did put a lot of good cards to the bottom of the deck. He put all my remaining retrievals, and he put a couple energy to the bottom of the deck. So I think I in total with the top deck for turn, I think I saw like 9 cards or something like that. But I whiffed game on the active Blood Moon. There was a Jamming Tower in play. I had to play an Ultra Ball to shuffle my deck because I knew there's retrievals at the bottom, so I shuffled my deck with the Ultra Ball. I knew also Cypher went to the bottom, so I had to play the thing. He did Ionomy into an Artisan and an Arvin, and then I top decked Ultra Ball. But I had to sequence it where I went for the shuffled my deck first, drew 9 cards basically, and I whiffed well, I guess I drew 8 cards after the shuffle, but I whiffed the knockout on the active Blood Moon, and he had Prime Catcher in hand for a game. So super unfortunate loss there, because drawing 9 cards with the knockout is kind of sad, obviously. I was a little sad about that because I really wanted to go 6-1-1 with the Dango deck, but I was still in day 2, wasn't going to complain. But weren't out yet, so yeah. Day 2 starts. Hit Alex Shemansky, back-to-back great players. So I hit Alex. Obviously, Alex, really good player. He was playing Terror Box. Yay, bad matchup. He 2-0'd me. Game number 1, I went double gamey pass, and he just Wellspring donked me. Game 2, it got really close. I Iono'd him to 2, and off the Iono, he drew Blood Moon Energy for game. He had he had Volcanion in the active spot, so he had game with Bear Energy. I just played an Iono, and yeah, the Iono just naturally gave him Bear Energy. Nothing I could do about that. So yeah, bad matchup. Nothing I could do. And then round number 10, I hit Owen Rhodes here playing the Poltzar deck. I actually played against Owen at Indianapolis last year when I was playing Arctina. He was playing Pidgey Control. So it was cool that we had a little rematch. So he was playing Poltzar. I think this matchup's decent for my deck. He played a Halucha, but I think if I could take the first 2 prizes, I should be okay. Game number 1 was a little interesting. I think he took the first 2, but I set up a really cool play with Dragapult where I think he played really cautious or something when he wanted to retreat his Fez. Because I think I gusted his Fez, Phantom Died for 200, and I tried to set up a potential 2-prize turn. Or I forced him to evolve some of his Dracloaks into Dragapults so that he had to evolve his board up, or else I was going to board wipe him or whatever with the Phantom Dive the next turn and the Monkey Dory. So I was sending a Monkey plus Phantom Dive combo. So one game 1, and then game 2, I think it was just kind of Goldengo did Goldengo things. I don't think I used Dragapult in game 2. This matchup's decent. His A-Spec was Heroescape, but I did Genesect him game 1. And I think game 2 I Genesect him. It didn't matter that much. The Heroescape is not that relevant. I play a Jamming Tower, but it's good to know, right? Just Genesect Jamming Tower just makes it easy to not deal with Heroescape. Round 11, I hit Terror Box again. So yeah, I hit a lot of Terror Box today. It was my only loss, basically, other than the Joltik deck. So I hit Aaron Walker here on Terror Box. Like I said, not a great matchup. It was actually a really close set, though. I almost won game 1. So game 1 was his board was active Wellspring, Ogre Pawn, a Hoodoo on the bench, and a couple other Pokemon, obviously. He had a Fez in play, too. So what I did was I Ionoed him to 2. So I played Iono, put him to 2 cards, and I hit him for 200 with the Goldengo. Didn't knock him out on purpose. And I hope he had a brick off the Iono, basically. Because then the following turn, He then went Sob for 20, hit me, and then what I did, I went Cypher Maniac, and I put Boss Monkey Dory on top of my deck, which allowed me to basically win the following turn, unless he played like a turbo or something. So I had game the following turn because I stacked Monkey Boss with Cypher, draw, and then I had Retrieval in hand, and I had enough resources to just take 4 prizes. So I knocked out the active from the 20 he did with the Sob the previous turn. Unfortunately, he top decked, or he didn't top deck, he teal danced into a Noctowl, and then Noctowl gave him the Tropicos to win the game, unfortunately, because he went Tropicos for 240. So super close set there. It came down to just me needing one more turn. I needed one turn, I would have had game with the 4-prize Monkey Dory combo. And then in game 2, he bricked, so won that really quickly. In game 3, he basically destroyed me. I had a really mid setup, and I had to lose some important resources, and he just set up like a Pikachu, and I couldn't really do anything against Pikachu. I think I could have played better. I had a turn where I hit the Pikachu for 150 when I had a Vengeful Punch on the active, and I knew he had to attack into the Pikachu, so I misplayed pretty badly. I think if I just hit him for... If I hit him for the 200, I might have a chance to win the game. I don't know. I had Fez on the board, though. I had a bench Fez to play the game, and I had no way to remove it, so yeah, I think I would have lost that anyways, because... Yeah, after the game, he was like, "Yeah, I had Bear in hands." I'm like, "Yeah, you probably just had game anyways in my Fez, no matter what." Even if I did the play where I hit the Pikachu and then left with 10 HP, he still would have probably won with Bear. It didn't really matter. So yeah, unfortunately, I hit a lot of Terror Box, and it was pretty rough matchup. And then finally, round number 12. This one's pretty crazy. We hit Henry Chow himself playing at Gardevoir, and I ended up beating him, which is pretty interesting. He was playing the build he won Atlanta with, like the Zork and stuff. Game 1. He didn't know if I had Jaming Tower. He basically just was like, if you have Jaming Tower, you have Jaming Tower. And it was like, yeah, I got Jaming Tower. I probably get Jaming Tower game number 1. So that was interesting. But basically the prize map was, he went Cleffa, then I went Knockout with Goldango, then he went Screamtail, killed a Dracloak. I killed the Screamtail, and the following turn I went for Boss on Fez with Goldango, and went down to 2. And I think the turn he went Screamtail, snipe my bench, knocked out my Fez with the Screamtail. I went Jamming Tower, and then I had enough resources to blow the Gardevoir up off of all that. And then game 2 was kind of the same story, where it was like knockout Cleffa, knockout Screamtail, Boss, Jamming Tower, 2-prize turn, or something like that. Or I think game 2, he had to attack with Gardevoir EX, and then I just blew up the Gardevoir for game. So I don't think he had an Iono that turn or something. But yeah, it was kind of cool. Got to play against Henry Chow. Great opponent, friendly person. Really enjoyed our set there. All my opponents were lovely, by the way. I like playing against everyone. Never really have any bad opponents at regionals, which is awesome. So, yeah, good experience. And I'm glad I made day 2 with Goldango. Not the placement I wanted to get. 158th after a 5-1-1 start. Felt kind of bad because I really wanted that 6-1-1, and then it kind of just derailed from there. And then I got put into, like, matchups against, like, a bunch of Terra Box, which was not great. I don't know, but the deck did what it was supposed to do. I'm glad I played it. I only hit 1 Dragapult the entire tournament, unless you want to count the Pulsar and the Goldango Dragapult, which I guess is kind of the same thing, but those decks don't play Budu. Owen wasn't playing Budu in his list, so it wasn't really like the same concept. It was a Dragapult deck, but it just didn't have Budu. It was kind of played differently. But hitting like only like 1 Dragapultix deck for the entire tournament felt kind of weird. Bit of a matchup roulette, in all honesty. Unfortunately, hit way too many Terra Boxes. I actually, going into this tournament, I figured there was going to be some Terra Box. I didn't bother like teching for it. I was like, should I play League Headquarters? Nah. Like, again, I tested the matchup before Atlanta when Terror Box was all the rage. And I found the matchup to be kind of close. It, came down to, like, Team Evo and stuff, and Ionos and whatnot. But, I don't know. Ran the tournament back. If I knew I was going to play that much Terror Box, I would have probably put something like a League Headquarters in my deck or something to counter Terror Box. So that matchup is not very good for this deck. Or at least it's very difficult to beat. Especially if they draw really well, it's really tough to keep up. And if they have Cornerstone Ogerpon in the deck, it's even harder to beat them, on top of the fact that it's already difficult to begin with. So yeah, Goldango, Dragapult, really strong deck. I think if I was going to Portland, I would probably play this deck again. I would probably make a couple changes. Like, I would maybe consider playing a League Headquarters, especially now that Raging Bolt won Milwaukee. It's probably not a bad idea to play a League Headquarters or some kind of Raging Bolt tech in here. Goldango doesn't have a good Raging Bolt matchup because they can take the first prize with Fan Rodom with a 1-prize board state, and then they can 2-2-2 prize race you pretty easily from there. It's not the same where, like, before you could just knock at the Raging Bolt immediately with Goldango and initiate the 2-prize race and probably run them over. It's a lot different now. Raging Bolt is a very different deck. It's a lot more, it's a little bit more of like a Terra Box type deck. It's no longer the same thing it used to be. So, yeah, I think League Headquarters is something I would probably consider putting in this deck. Even a second Iono would be really good. A lot of games this week, I'm not going to lie, did come down to me having to play an Iono and hoping my opponent didn't draw anything off of it. So I think 2 Iono could be good. I don't know what we're cutting for that, though. I really like the list. I could see second Vessel getting cut, maybe just keep the one Vessel. You have the Genesect. One Vessel, one Genesect play could be enough to beat the Genesect and stuff. And I don't even know, like, if we're going to see more like Terror Box, Raging Bolt going forward, I don't know if you really need to tech for Genesect anymore like you used to, so you can probably cut the Vessel and then maybe play like a... I mean, 3 Stadium is a little egregious, but I could definitely see like a League Headquarters being good in here, for sure. Just a tech for Raging Bolt and Terror Box, I think, is probably necessary in Goldengo going forward, in my opinion. But yeah, really good deck, really fun stuff. Glad I made day 2 again, finally, with the Goldengo deck. Really cool stuff. And yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed today's video and tournament breakdown. Will not be going to Portland the same weekend as Dustin Rivals releasing some of the Stay Home Make content, but I will be at NAIC, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. Who knows? Will I play Goldengo for NAIC? We'll have to see. You never know what could happen. Anything's possible. Thanks for watching. Again, thank you to everybody who came up to me this weekend and said hi and all that good stuff. Met a lot of cool people this weekend. Yeah, had a good time. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch y'all very soon. Probably going to look at all the decks in day 2 very soon here on the channel. And even new cards got revealed. Maybe we have to do that first, actually. That might be more important than day 2. Who knows? But yeah, see y'all later. Bye-bye.